Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Now, in this video, I wanted to analyze the two short videos that came out, one from Federal brand ammunition and the other from Hornady, basically addressing the situation that they are in with manufacturing as they try and meet the heightened demand right now. Now, these videos did come out about 10 days ago, but with the holidays, I've been delayed in doing this. But anyway, if this all sounds interesting to you, please stick around. What's coming up now. Alright, so we're going to start off with the first video that came out. This is done by Jason Vanderbrink, who is the president of Federal, CCI, Spear, and Remington ammunition brands.
Hi, I'm Jason Vanderbrink, president of Federal, CCI, Spear, and Remington ammunition. And I gotta say, I am tired of all the hate mail. I'm tired of people showing up at our factories. I'm tired of reading the misinformation out on the internet right now about us not trying to service the demand that we're experiencing.
Okay, so starting off with this video, obviously the tone is pretty negative. Jason Vanderbrink is basically expressing frustration for all of the misinformation that's out there in regards to why the ammunition manufacturers are not meeting their demand. Now, as a gun store owner, I can't personally say that I've heard a lot of these conspiracy theories about Federal or Hornady or any of the other ammunition manufacturers, holding out on the consumer market. I think it makes perfect sense to me that any manufacturer of a consumer good is going to try and meet the demand that's out there as much as they can. Starting off on this, I guess the purpose of these videos is to address the public and all the questions as to where is all the ammunition, why are we not getting anything. Coming out as a representative of Federal, starting off and addressing what I would assume would be the minority of customer complaints or feedback. I don't know, I think kind of starts off on a negative tone, but again, I understand it. And myself as a retailer in the firearms space, I will say that things have been very stressful. We have been getting a ton of people who have been reaching out to us, wondering where ammunition and firearms are. I haven't really personally had a lot of people come out to me and accuse anybody of, trying to, purposefully not supply the market. But I am a very small cog in this entire machine, the firearms industry. Federal brand ammunition is one of the largest suppliers of firearms related merchandise, so I can only assume that their negative complaints and everything would far outpace what I would experience. And as the president of this brand, I can honestly understand why that would add up and become very burdensome on his day-to-day life operating the brand. But still, when it comes to the politics of operating a company, I would try and be a little bit more positive about the things we're trying to do, which he does get into towards the end of the video. So let's keep watching.
It gets really old when I hear and read constantly that our ammunition companies are not making ammunition. We're having secret warehouses. We are selling to only specific customers. And after a year like right now where we have hired hundreds of employees to support American manufacturing jobs, all I hear is we're not making ammunition.
Okay, so one thing he touched on there is selling only to preferred types of people. That's a complaint he's been getting, holding out on the consumer market, picking and choosing who they ship their firearm or their ammunition to. That is something I have heard, and as being somebody that's in this industry in a very small gun shop, it's something that I have seen. But that is the economics of manufacturing and distribution. It's going to be very obvious to me. Like, I haven't had a personal grudge against the large manufacturers, even though I haven't had access to nearly as much inventory as I would like, both in firearms and ammunition. It's going to be very apparent that the day-to-day or the year-to-year purchasers of their ammunition, whether they are large wholesalers, large retailers, they are going to get preferential treatment on their shipping. That's just the way it is. For example, if I get something in that I know a really good customer of mine wants, and they've done thousands and thousands of dollars with me in the past and have a long-standing relationship with me, I am going to be more motivated as a retailer to try and get them that product than I would somebody that I have zero relationship with or a very small relationship with. It's not at all trying to purposefully put down the customer that doesn't do business with me. It's more geared towards keeping the customers that do business with me happy and coming back when supply is normal. So I just think that that is a normal facet of business, and it's really nothing to be mad at them about. I'm definitely not mad at them about this. We also, when we looked at the call back in the ammunition video I did about 3 or 4 months ago, we reviewed the phone call that Vista Outdoors, a Federal brand holding company, had in regards to their distribution, their manufacturing and everything. They did put out their own website where they're selling their own products, and again, it stands to reason that they would give that preferential treatment because it's their own in-house web page, their e-commerce site. So again, it's going to be trickled down on this sort of thing. The little guys like me aren't going to get a whole lot, not nearly as compared to their big purchasers that they deal with all the time.
So we want to keep the team motivated, so we continue to make ammunition to try to service this market. But if we just look back on basic economics, 7 million new shooters since March, times 2 boxes, which is a conservative estimate, is 700 million new rounds of ammunition our 3 factories have to help produce.
So I think he's using a very conservative estimate there. I've heard numbers as high as 10 to 12 million new first-time buyers having entered the marketplace. And if you do think about the sheer economics of that, keep in mind we're coming off of the sort of the downward slope on the demand curve of what we had experienced over the past 4 years under a President Trump administration. Now, back in the Obama era, demand was a lot higher, and capacity for that demand, whether it was through manufacturing of ammunition or firearms, was high enough to meet that heightened demand. Now, going into the 2016 election, I remember prior to the election, there was a lot of thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and a lot of retailers and manufacturers and wholesalers really beefed up on their supply, their capacity, and their inventory, and a lot of people got left holding the bag. I had talked about this as a sort of a hypothesis in my last ammunition video, that a lot of the manufacturers don't want to be left in these sort of circumstances. And again, I had thought that after the electoral votes were in, which was middle December, just a few days before these videos were posted, that they were probably going to keep an eye on what was going on politically as to not oversaturate the market, which could have turned into another 4 years under President Trump if he had won. Another 4 years of very slow demand, and they don't want to be left with all that extra machinery and capacity. I've also found that it is the new buyers that have come into the market that seem to be less understanding about what is going on with supply, and I guess that it's probably a lot of the first-time buyers that are the ones that are probably complaining the most, not out of maliciousness, but just out of not understanding how this works, especially when we reach periods of low supply like many of us have seen in many years past. It's just sort of a cyclical thing that happens typically around elections. We end up in shortages like this, and of course there's a lot of animosity and a lot of frustration around things being able to receive, but seeing a surge in demand this quickly and at this the level of demand that we've seen and how quickly it's come on, this is really unprecedented and nothing we've really seen before. So I understand it's going to take some time to build out to meet that demand, especially in areas like the ammunition market.
That is impossible to do in 9 months. It takes months to train people. You actually got to train people to make ammunition. That takes time. You got to get the raw materials. And on top of that all, we're dealing with a pandemic. And at all of our ammunition factories, the health and safety of our personnel and employees are number one.
So he makes a good point here. Bringing up your capacity, whether it's on machinery or new personnel, does take time. Now, we have been experiencing this shortened level of supply versus the heightened level of demand for nearly a year. This all started kicking off in March, so in 3 months we will have come to a full year. And so what I would assume is if they did start bulking up their capacity back in March, by now, we're 9 months later, we should have trained personnel and extra equipment to be putting that out. But again, I don't think that they probably jumped in with both feet all the way back in March. I think that personally, and I don't have any facts to back this up, I think that there was probably a little bit of pushing the capacity they had to the limit. and waiting to bring on a huge amount of more overhead and expenses to really make sure that this demand was going to continue. And I personally think that this demand is going to continue, especially under a Biden administration. And I am assuming that, the presidents of these manufacturing companies are expecting the same. When it comes to coronavirus, you talked about that. Really, when it comes to your employees and your customers, you have to operate at the lowest common denominator. I know that there is a lot of debate whether COVID is as big a deal as it is or isn't. But again, a lot of these companies might be arms and ammunition manufacturers could be operating in states that have put restrictions on them. You also have to worry about opening yourself up to legal vulnerabilities. Whereas if you do not create a safe work environment for your personnel, that might not only lower morale for people who are afraid of what's going on with the pandemic, but also can open yourself up to litigation if you're not taking careful precautions to make sure that people aren't getting sick or whatever when they come to work. So as an employer, you have to, despite what people think politically, you have to create the safest environment to the lowest common denominator possible. You just have to when you're operating a company.
So tie all of that in together, and you'll see today that we are indeed making ammunition. We indeed are shipping ammunition. We're not storing it in secret warehouses. But I wanted to address those rumors because every day I hear something new, and it's simply not true.
When it comes to things about secret warehouses, and I've heard all these rumors too, people holding things back for like huge military contracts, or the government putting in gigantic contracts in order to starve the consumer market. Whether you believe those things or not, I can understand that as a president of a company like this, it can get old and it can get tiring, especially if you're doing everything you can to try and meet your customer needs. I try and do everything I can to meet my customer needs with a lower supply. I can't do that. I get calls and everything all the time, but all you can do as a business owner or the head of a corporation like this is to try and keep a positive attitude and ignore really baseless accusations, even if they believe that they're true, but to not try and feed that sort of thing. I think most rational people understand, listen, there's been a tremendous explosion in demand. It's going to take time to meet that demand, and the general gist of what I believe he's trying to say here is they're doing everything that they can to do that, despite allegations of, the contrary.
We're making all of the ammunition as fast as we can. We really feel humbled that the demand is high for our products. And I ask, please squash the rumors. You don't have to believe everything that's out on the internet. We are doing our damnedest to meet this demand. We appreciate all of our support for American manufacturing jobs, and it really humbles our thousands of team members that you've chosen our brands to help you with your hobbies, self-defense, hunting. We feel humble, but again, please understand we are doing everything we can to meet this demand.
So I think that this is where the video takes a more positive tone, and I've actually stopped. I've had a lot of times where I've been frustrated too with the endless amount of phone calls and requests for things I can't get. You really have to stop and understand, as a business owner like myself, or the President Jason Vanderbrink of Federal, is that there are lots of people who are wanting to very desperately give you their business. They're just frustrated that they can't right now, and I think that that's the conclusion he's coming to is he's humbled that so many people trust and want Federal brand ammunition, and I'm humbled that so many people want to call me up and buy the ammunition and firearms and stuff from me. So even though it can get tiring, it can get frustrating, I still have to, stop and think, wow, what a great place I'm in, that I have a business that thousands and thousands of people want to interact with and deal with to purchase things or try and purchase things from me. And I think that's the general big conclusion that I'm taking away this year, and I think the conclusion he's taking away here as well. So he then goes on to give a factory tour, basically show, yes, they're turning out ammunition as quickly as they can. You see it in boxes and pallets. You can go on and watch the rest of the video, and then he wraps up the video again with a thank you to the consumers of their ammunition and their products, and thank you for the patience of everything. So let's go ahead and move over to the Hornady video that actually came out.
I'm Jason Hornady. Thanks for being a customer. We appreciate it. We understand that there is certainly an over demand right now on ammunition availability. We promise we are shipping everything we can. The stuff that goes out today was literally put in a box yesterday. We've made 1/3 more than we did last year. Unfortunately, we don't have an extra factory laying around or anything else. We've got X number of people. We are certainly trying to add as much capacity as we can.
So he's touching on the same principles here. First of all, starting off with a more positive tone, saying, hey, we're doing everything we can to get this ammunition out there. We know you guys want it. Thank you for picking our brands. And he's standing in the factory. You see people working on, loading ammunition up. Capacity is a big issue. Again, ammunition, firearms manufacturing was not ready to handle this level of demand. I think that the message really between this Hornady, press release, if you want to call it that, and the one we just watched from Federal really kind of has the same undertones here.
I can promise you, there is no government conspiracy. Nobody's paying us to not ship. The t-shirts we don't manufacture, we actually buy them so they don't affect our ammunition manufacturing.
So clearly he's getting the same amount of criticism as Federal brand is getting. So
anything that we can is shipped. Everybody here is working as hard as they can to make sure we ship as much as we can. We appreciate your patience. We understand it's frustrating. It's frustrating for us too. But thank you for the business. We promise, keep shooting because we're going to keep making more. We promise. Thanks.
So that's the two videos that they have put out. Again, as somebody working in a gun store and within the industry, I totally understand where they're coming from and trying to meet the supply. And I personally, as a small retailer, understand that in circumstances like this, I'm not going to get the supply of ammunition that I would like. And I understand that you guys, being consumers in the marketplace, enthusiasts, people who want ammunition for self-defense, maybe you're a new gun owner, I totally understand the frustration. I personally don't think, and I'm not trying to endorse either one of these brands, I don't see any holes in this argument or any holes in what they are saying in terms of putting out ammunition to the market. And again, I think it would be counterintuitive for a for-profit corporation to be trying to withhold their products during a time when their products are in an extreme amount of demand. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on these. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please let me know by hitting that like button. Also, if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you off there. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.